Hello, hello. We are so excited to have you guys join us here at Hope Brokers. I have the amazing Rocky with us today. Rocky, I was just actually getting ready to tell you that the reason I believe in God nudges. I believe in that things happen the way that they are supposed to. I believe God has his hands in everything. There's absolutely no doubt about that to me. And you are such an integral part of Talon's legacy. I might get a little bit emotional, but it's so funny to me because as I was thinking about everybody that I wanted to interview, and all of these powerhouses come to mind, and all these big influencers and people that have moved me individually on a personal level, spiritual level, a mental level, a physical level, whatever it be, you, as I'm looking at my list, I came across your name, and I was overcome with emotion because you literally are the reason that Talon was able to leave a legacy. I mean, you were a big part of it. If not for you, the steps that had occurred for Talon to be able to leave his legacy could not have happened. So I just wanted to start off by just welcoming you to the show. My very first, I found out that we launch on December 17th, which is Thursday, and that happens to also be a very special day, Rocky. When this launches, it's obviously going to be what day? When everybody's watching this.
That's actually my birthday.
It's your birthday! That's how serendipitous is that? I don't know if that's the right word, but integral part of Talon's legacy. You are an amazing inspirer. You have an amazing story, a very deep, painful story, right? You have a triumphant story, and I'm so glad that you are on here to share. I wanted to share a video really quick because it's a little bit kind of, it explains who you are. So hold on just a second.
Less than 2 years ago, I was living in my brother's treehouse in his backyard.
This is my home. This is where I live. That is the treehouse that I live in. This right here is my access to the bed, which is up there. I can access it by the walkway here, right, which is going up. This over here, of course, is my laundry room. This is the desk area.
You see, I'd lost everything. I was grateful just to be alive.
And why I've decided to make a major change in my life. Transformation, major transformation.
I want to share with you my story.
I wrote a letter to my family, and this is what it said. I've been living life in fear, frustration, lack, poverty, regret.
What I did to change, and a message of hope of how you never give up.
And feel like a complete failure. Failed as a provider, failed as a protector, as a husband. I promised I should be. I failed at that. I've been so down, never more down in my life.
I invested with a friend of 18 years, he and his business partner. My friends and family, well, they invested because they trusted in me.
Is it actually possible to get so low that there seems like no way out?
Turned out to be one of Arizona's largest Ponzi schemes. So they lost their life savings.
And there is.
Where do you go from there? So I thought, well, maybe the only place I could possibly go was just to end it all. So I contemplated suicide.
I guess that's why people commit suicide, because they get so low.
But an anchor held. And I thank God he's in my life, or I'd not be alive. And there was some internal voice that was crying out, you never give up.
I give people hope. I just want to inspire and encourage people.
That's why I created Samsonware, because my belief is that your words create your reality. Because words are powerful.
But if I can do it, you can do it. My message to you, a message of hope. And that message is you never give up.
A message of hope.
Yes.
You never give up.
Right.
That is so powerful. So powerful. And Rocky, this is how I met you. This is the Rocky that I knew. This is the Rocky that I met. And so I knew you in social circles, and I kind of knew of you in social circles. And I want to tell you about my very first God nudge with you, because I don't know if you know this. You might remember this, but I was at the Village, and you were at the Village. And I saw you. The way I'm going to describe this is going to kind of be weird, but this is the only way I know how to describe God nudges when it comes to people, because it happens to me a lot. But basically, have you ever seen the movie Unbreakable? It's kind of a weird movie with Bruce Willis. And when he sees evil people, they kind of flash before him in orange. Okay, mine's not like that where people flash before me in orange, but how I describe it is like when I see somebody that I feel like God is trying to tell me to pay attention, it's almost like I get this overwhelming of like just this impression. I don't know I wish I knew how to explain it, but when I saw you, it's kind of like the Red Sea parted and you were walking towards me and I was like, hey, Rocky, like I saw you immediately, Rocky. And I went up to you and I fist bumped you. Do you remember? Do you remember the fist bump in the Village? You probably don't. It was so long ago. But I did. I fist bumped you in the Village, but that was my first God nudge. And I didn't know at the time, I didn't understand what it was. But not too long after that, I would say about a month. In fact, I would say the God nudge happened at the Village. I would say it was probably about July 2014. And then in August, I believe, you ended up at the Grotto Group. And you were there and you were talking to Brian, who was, I guess he started the Grotto Group, and you were talking to him about the Samson Challenge. Do you remember what you were telling him?
Right.
Okay. So I'm listening and I'm overhearing, and I had started a nonprofit for teen suicide prevention.
Right.
A friend of mine's child had committed suicide at age 17. So I'm listening to you talk about this program, and you were talking about fitness. you were talking about financial. So you had the fitness incorporated, the financial incorporated, but there was an element to it that was interesting and I thought necessary that I had never seen in another program. And that was relationships. It was relationship driven.
Yeah.
And immediately I knew, because in my mind and in my heart of hearts, I believe that the reason that teens were struggling was because they were disconnected. They were not connected to real relationships, right?
Right.
And so then what happens?
Well, then we invited as many people as we could to join kind of an open night of the first challenge and, you know, kind of take inventory of who's going to be there. And we had spent the night before, I mean, we spent a week before preparing, but then we are the night before. And we are putting 3-ring binders together with the materials, with journals. I mean, all this. And we stayed up all night. It was a very long, tenuous evening to prepare for the next day because we honestly didn't know how many people would show, and we're going to FedEx and getting papers, and it was wearing, but we finally got it done. Everybody, and when everybody showed up, there were 60 people. I was thinking there was going to be a dozen, and 60 people showed up, and but I think before that we had met with the teens, didn't we?
Yeah, in fact, I thought I was pulling up a picture of the teens, but it wasn't. It was a video. That's the background that you were hearing. So I apologize for that. But I thought I was pulling up a picture of the actual teens that were with us. Did you have a picture of the teens? I thought you did. Let me look really quick.
I had a picture of your 2 kids and another one of the teenagers.
Okay, let me look oh yeah, there's the picture. Okay, so let me I will open this up and we'll just share this because this is let's see.
Yeah, there are those times in life, and this is what happened with you. There are those times in life that are very monumental. Someone comes into your life and you just never forget them, and they were at the right place, the right time. The right person was there. I happen to be that person for, you and the kids for sure. But that really happened because of what I went through in my experience as, an adult man who lost everything, lived in a treehouse, got fat and depressed, and all this stuff happened. Thank God I was able to overcome some of the challenges that I had in suicide and depression. And so when I put this challenge together, my goal was real simple. I wanted to empower other people, and I wanted to bring them hope. That was my goal because I was a guy without hope. Yeah, there you go. There's some different.
So there's JC on the left, and then Talon, and then his best friend Jake. Now for Talon, because this is also part of his pivotal story, explain to the audience your part of the program that Talon excelled in, because there's a couple of special things that I feel like you did in your program, relationship driven, that helped Talon excel, because at that time,
literally, we, honestly, we were one of the first ones, Samson Life and what we designed here. We were one of the first ones to create and develop a life and leadership skills program that, quite frankly, today has kind of swept the world, not through me, but through other sources, and through other, thought leaders, if you will. I could probably mention a few names of people that know them, but I don't think it's necessary to do that. But they're worldwide. I mean, they're worldwide known. But I think at the time we were one of the first to really come up with this. And I had spent about 30 years in research and development and really thought, what are the real key things that, if a person did this, it could really change their life. And when we launched the challenge, we had 10. And so, we soon recognized that not everybody was really willing and able to do 10. What we did find out is that most people could do 1 or 2, maybe 3. That's really about it, right? Because we thought, man, we're going to get them journaling and finances and all this stuff. But quite frankly, when you've never done any of those, to go right into it, it was a little difficult. But in relationship to saving lives, which the program did, it really came down to a couple of things, 3, but a couple of those that are very important, specifically with Talon and Hannah, were journaling. Journaling was the game changer for both of these individuals who, were depressed and suicidal.
and journaling. But I actually came up with the idea of, in fact, when we launched this, there were no journals on Amazon. I know, because I looked. So we had to make our own.
I
And so
remember.
I designed a gratitude journal because I knew that gratitude was the key ingredient to overcoming depression, suicide, negative thoughts. Your thoughts flow in one specific direction, and if you keep letting those thoughts flow, it's like a river. You're not going to change the direction of that river. In order to change the direction, you have to change your thought process. You have to change what you're thinking about. So how we did this was real simple. We wanted everybody to write down, and the journaling was real simple. Date, and then 3 things you're grateful for. That was really it. And then a sentence about something positive that happened to you today. That's all. That's all we want you to do. And so, people can think of 3 simple things. I have a pillow, I can walk, I can see, right? Start with something simple. That's what I started with. Tomorrow, you have to come up with 3 new things. So now you're engaging that part of your brain to think about, what am I so thankful for? What do I, because most people that are depressed and suicidal, they're not thinking about what they're grateful for. They're not thinking about what I have. They're thinking about what they don't have. They're thinking about all the problems, all the issues, everything that they don't have. That's why they're depressed, right? They're not thinking about being grateful. You can't have the two. So we want to change the directional flow of the thoughts in our life like that river and get you thinking about something positive. So Talon, he's just this little hero, man. It's just incredible what happened, because he was the genesis of the entire program, because he really took this on, personally took it on. And he went from writing 3 little things, a day. Next day he writes 3 new things. The next day he writes like 4. Before you know it, inside of a month's period of time, because we get together every week, Talon's writing a page. He's writing like a half page of things he's grateful for on an 8x11. I mean, how many things is that you're grateful for? It's a lot. And he's doing it every day. Well, then he started reaching out to other kids, right? And inspiring kids, and, just uplifting them and sending them text messages, which is part of the program. And so, with him, it inspired so many other kids. We only had a handful right there in our little group, but we really don't know the lives that were touched because, of that ripple effect through them. I mean, through him and Hannah and JC and all the things that happened. I mean, we're dating back 5-6 years now, but it was absolutely a life-changing event. Saved lives, changed lives, empowered. And until you called me the other day, I hadn't really thought about how impactful it was until you started reminding me of this. And I'm like, wow, that's such a big deal. Wow.
It's powerful. It's powerful to me how one person can cause an amazing ripple that literally will it will go in so many directions forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And that really is what we have here. So what I loved about the Samson Challenge and building it out and the relationship part of it, Rocky, was there were specific things that were driven, that were relationship driven. And again, this was this to me was so key in dealing with teens that were struggling with suicide, depression, anxiety, PTSD, whatever it is, just maybe feeling alone. It's the lack of connectivity that we have with other human beings. In fact, I think I'd read somewhere that the average human requires 12 to 15 hugs a day. We need that. We need that emotionally, physically, mentally, everything.
It's really built into our genetic code. You can do all kinds of research and know that, as a human being, it's part of our built-in genetic code. It's in our DNA to have connection with another human being. And we're in a world, of social media and 6 feet apart and all this stuff. And so you have that interconnected person, the people that need to connect with one another. And a lot of that's lost right now because a lot of people are at home or they lost jobs and all these things. So, it's great seeing what you're doing, that you can bring hope to other people through these great stories that can empower and uplift other individuals. And thinking like this is the genesis for you with your amazing kids that were in this program, that it changed lives. It was absolutely a miracle just to see what happened when when someone would take on a small, simple little task of journaling or simple task of reaching out to someone else just because they came on their heart. All those were really important tasks. And, fast forward a couple of years from the time that we did this, we actually ended up working with the MIAC group in Meridian. So I was working with the mayor, Tammy, at the time, and she had the largest mayor's youth advisory council in the country. And at one time, 200 plus kids would show up. I mean, it's a pretty big group of teenagers. So I was asked to speak at a safety summit on a Friday. It was going to be on a Friday. And so my good friend Ken Corder, he was actually working with the mayor at the time. And I asked if I could come in and speak to the leadership team. So these would be the JCs and the Talons, the leaders in this 200-person, MIAC group. So I went in and I gave them 3 things to do, Tanya. Those 3 things were based on what I had learned from the Samson Life Challenge, seeing, Talon and JC and Hannah and, Andrew and Jake, and these kids really start changing their lives at home, at school. Hannah had this poor sweet girl, incredible story. She's alive today, but at one time she had, the curtain wrapped around her neck trying to commit suicide. And I didn't know any of this. A couple weeks later we meet and she goes through this program and starts journaling, and she shared on video that's what saved her life. So we're talking about life-changing, life-saving skill sets, that anybody can do. You can teach people to do this. So we took these to 10 students, and we introduced journaling, reaching out to another student, just one a day, and then quiet time. What do how do you do quiet time? How do you meditate or pray or whatever that is for the individual? And we showed them how to do that. Just 3 things. And I said to them, so you guys are the leaders. We're going to come back on Friday, and I'm going to pull you guys up in front of the group, and I'm going to have you tell your testimony. So first I need to know, are you committed? And so if you remember in the challenge, we asked everybody if they were committed. Everybody signed a document saying that I was going to participate in this. I was going to go the distance. And so I said, hey, it's Monday. We're going to come back on Friday. I'm going to pull you back in front of all your peers on Tuesday or Friday. So you guys are you're probably going to want to commit to this and do it, because I'm going to ask for your testimony. So they all said, yes, we will do that. I showed them how to do it. And you can see the videos on YouTube because they're absolutely outstanding. Every student that we have talked to, almost every student we've talked to, is there anxiety? Yes. Is there stress? Yes. And so we have, if you will, I feel we have a little bit of an antidote to help solve that, because we heard the testimonies of these students that have anxiety and stress. Well, how do you overcome that? Well, it's about breathing. It's about putting your phone down, your computer down, and just focusing on that breath inside. Close it off. And when you do that, it changes your life. Your heart rate starts to go down. The anxiety starts to dissipate. The stress starts to go away. And these kids are finding, hope. They're finding, this encouragement, and they're doing it all on their own, by guidance on these things that we're talking about right now. So, of course, I'm empowered by this because of your kids and what it meant to them and the people that were involved.
Yeah. And what I love about it, again, is the relationship driven part, and it takes action, right? So many times I see on social media, like I'll see somebody post, a teenager post, like, my friends never want to hang out, or my friends never invite me to do this. But what I love about this is that it's action oriented, right? Like, we have to be the connectors. We have to take the action. We have to send 5 texts to 5 random people every day and just say, hey, how are you doing? How's it going? I'm thinking about you, man. This is what I remember, or I love this about you. Like, those really encouraging, endearing, sentimental, true, like, statements to people, and just making that effort. And I think that's so key right now, Rocky, right? Where we're 6 feet apart and we're isolating and we're social distancing and we're being so cautious, we still need those interactions. So if we can't hug and we can't touch those things that we require, why not do it cyber wise? Or why don't we? Okay, so let me back up, because I want to tell you something else. In fact, there's a lot I need to tell you. One of your call to action items for the relationship piece of it is, it might actually make me cry, because it's a tender mercy. There's so much about your connection to Talon that I will forever be grateful for.
Thank you.
during the challenge, one of the call to action items was that you had them write a handwritten letter every single week to somebody that was important to them and that made a difference in their life. And my son wrote me a letter, and I had put it away and I had kind of forgot about it. But after he passed away, I had come across this letter. And I remember before I even found it that I think when you lose a child, there's kind of something that sits underneath the surface of, was I good mom? Was I good enough? Did he know he was loved? Did he know that was I good? Did he think I was good? Did he think I was good enough? And this letter that he had written me, Rocky, had everything I needed to hear in it that I would not have had he not participated in your challenge. And it's probably one of the single most important pieces of paper that I have, because it's a letter from my son telling me that I was a good mom, And what I want to appeal to all of our listeners today is how important, texts are great, videos are great, pictures are great. Those handwritten letters, there's something very unique and special about your handwriting. There's something very unique and very special about you sitting down and taking the time to scribble and unscribble and erase and unerase and do all those special things to put your feelings and emotions down on a piece of paper. Right. And that came from you, Rocky. And I'm so grateful, I'll forever be grateful. I think that should be a call to action item for our listeners, is really just everybody should once a week, especially right now, at least once a week. You guys, we have so much time on our hands to at least sit down and really, write a heartfelt letter to somebody every week who has made a difference in your life. I think we need to hear that as people. We need to be on the receiving end of that. We also need to be on the giving end of that. What a gift it is to be able to tell somebody how important they are in your life, how the impression that they made, what they've done for you personally. And I'm so forever grateful for that. So thank you for that piece, Rocky. That really honestly has been one of the biggest tender mercies for sure.
Yeah, Tanya, I want to say that, all your listeners, whoever's listening to this today, whatever you're going through, whatever experience you're involved with, or maybe someone, I personally, I'm a coach today, and that's what I do for a living. I coach, everything from high-end multimillionaires that want to become authors to, just people that are struggling and they just want to learn how to speak. They want to take their message to the world. So I have a range of people. But one of the biggest things that I'm a real big advocate on is the execution part of taking if you will, a test, or taking the task and doing it. So Tanya can say, hey, this letter changed my life, but it was Talon who wrote the letter. It was, it was us who said, hey, write the letter. And then, did you guys write the letter? When we came back the next week, did you write gotta go write the letter? Did you raise your hand? You're going to write the letter? You're going to do what you say you're going to do. So I kind of hold people accountable. And I'm so glad that I was able to hold some of these individuals accountable, Tanya, to what they said they were going to do. Because we had people sign a document. You're going to do these things. You said you would do them. Hey, I was in a place in my life where, my word didn't matter. I said I'd do something, I wouldn't do it, all those things. But somewhere in there, my life changed, and I realized that my word was important. My word was my bond. And if I said I was going to do something, I probably should do it. And so I find today some people say they're going to show up. You can hit. I sell things I kind of buy and sell things, everything from just small little items to big boats. And, people say they're going to show and they don't show. When did this happen where your word doesn't mean anything anymore?
Right.
And it's really sad. It's just consistently, I deal with it all the time, but if you work with me, you got to I hold people accountable, because I see that as just something that's lacking in our world, right? I see it lacking. I see it lacking from the high ends of the government to, in-house, training kids, working with kids. And so I just want to say that letter you'll have forever. But it started with, you wrote the letter. You just encouraged your audience, write the letter. You get a piece of paper out. If someone comes on your heart, and we all have it. We all have it. If we just kind of open that up and ask God or universe or whatever that is for you, Just say, hey, is there someone in my life I can empower, I can uplift, I can encourage? You start using those words instead of like, what's wrong with me? Like, all the problems you're having. Think about who you can help. Who can you inspire? Is there someone in my life? And you might be super down. You might be really down, really depressed. Who knows what's happened to you? Start thinking about those other people in your life that you can help by writing a letter, by sending a text, and you can save a life. We've seen it happen. So I'm encouraging those listeners to do that because it obviously has changed your life, Tanya.
And we'll touch on how impactful Talon's legacy has been because of his beginnings with the Samson Challenge, because those habits that he created followed him clear until death. And that his funeral was impactful because it was standing room only, flow outside the hallways, flow outside the building. And that was because he was so relationship driven because of those habits that he had created in your program, Rocky. And if you don't think that is impactful, if you were at his funeral, I will tell you right now, if you're listening, this all stemmed from the relationship driven piece and aspect of the Samson Life Challenge. Every single one of the sending texts to people, Talon became a shoulder to bend, like he became an ear to bend, a shoulder to cry on. He was everybody's listening ear, and he was a motivation. He was there to encourage people, and he really, truly, truly started those habits in the Samson Challenge. So let's go through that. So he killed it in the Samson Challenge. He had a broken arm at the time. I don't know if you remember that. And do you remember how many push-ups he was one arm pull-ups, one arm push-ups? What was he doing? It was crazy. So then the news gets involved, right?
Channel 6, Channel 7. I think it was Channel 7. Did a story on it. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, share the picture because we have this picture of you and Channel 7. So let me just share that really quick. I can't remember the girl's name that actually did the interview, but she was so sweet.
She did a great job.
Yes, she really did. So there she is.
Right.
You guys did your interview. And you talked about the Samson Challenge and the kids that had gone through the program, and Talon. So Talon got to be interviewed during this.
Yes, he did. He got to be interviewed. I wanted him to get interviewed. So I reached out to them and told them about what we were doing, and she came down and then she interviewed Talon. So that was that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
So in between that interview, now we actually discovered a year earlier, Talon had taken the Strengths Finder test by Gallup Strengths Finder test. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but we had all the high risk teens actually do that test just to kind of see what their superpowers were, and that's when we found out that Talon was an empath. His number one strength out of, I think there's 34 of them, was empathy. And so all of a sudden things kind of came into focus that, Talon was a very sensitive kid. He carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. He hurt when other people hurt. And he did not know how to let other people's stuff be their stuff and let his stuff be his stuff. He didn't know how to decompartmentalize, and so he just felt heavy. And I think that's where his depression came from, because he will tell you, I wasn't really depressed. I didn't know what my purpose was. I felt I could do more outside of my body or whatever. But anyways, I was going somewhere with that. I was going somewhere because we were talking about the challenge, and we were talking about how impactful that was for Talon.
Yeah.
So he did the news. We built out the staff. So we found out he was an empath, and then which played into his suicide attempt. But that Talon's suicide attempt actually happened April 5th of 2016. That was I actually shared. I will share the link. I'll actually share his story on Hope Broker's page, or I might even actually edit it in here somewhere. But his story is phenomenal, and I don't know that I can share it right now. It's a lot to share, but I will share the link. The reason why that's important is because Talon went on to speak He went on to share his story with This Is My Brave and Story Night. Because of that, I want to tell you about the second God nudge. So Zach Kyle, who is with the Idaho Statesman, when he saw Channel 7 run their news story with Talon, he had interviewed Talon about the Samson Challenge. This was God nudge number 2. Zach Kyle comes over with the Idaho Statesman, and he's sitting at my couch, and Talon's there, and is interviewing Talon, and Talon's talking about the Samson Challenge and everything that he had accomplished. And all of a sudden, I get this really strong, powerful emotion kind of go through my body, and I felt this really strong impression that I needed to tell Zach Kyle about Talon's suicide attempt. Because the short story is that Talon, at age 16, had gone up to an 8th-story garage to jump off the building and end his life. And that night, the same big garage, same side of the building, 5 stories down, was a girl at the exact same time who, right before Talon was getting ready to jump off that building, had pushed herself away from the rail and fell 3 stories and hit the ground. And Talon saw this. He saw it, and it changed his life. But what I'm going to say is that, to me, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that that girl and Talon were at the same place, same side of the building, same time, because she was there to save his life. And they actually both lived. So that miracle, the miracle,
He did live.
They both lived. Her jump stopped his jump, and she actually, she ended up living. In fact, I'm connected to her family now. Me and her sister are really, really good friends. We love her. She's like, they're like family. I've never actually met the girl that jumped, but the point is that it was such a miracle to me. It was so divine. It was so divine. I mean, my son should have not made it that night. There's no doubt in my mind that God had his hand in that. And so as Zach is sitting there and interviewing Talon, I really felt like I needed to tell Zach that Talon has this amazing story that I feel like needed to be shared. And at first, Talon was reluctant to share. He didn't want to tell people that he had to go to Intermountain Hospital and that he attempted suicide. I mean, that it was taboo, and he was going to get bullied, in his opinion. He was going to get harassed. He was going to get made fun of. In his mind, it did not look like a good situation, right? And that's the problem, is that kids are afraid to speak out. They're afraid to say, I need help, because there's shame. There's shame that's associated with needing help. And we have to stop that stigma too, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so we shared with Zach Kyle, Talon. It took him a couple weeks to come around, and he finally did. He went on to share a story with This Is My Brave and Story Night. But what I wanted to share with you, Rocky, is that the impact that Talon had with the Samson Challenge and the challenge that you built out that was so relationship driven was that he, up until when he came out of the hospital, Intermountain Hospital, what I saw is he took every single life skill, relationship-driven skill that he had learned in your challenge, and he put it at 110%. That kid was working out 2 to 4 hours a day. I don't know if you saw pictures of him before he passed, but the kid had like an 8-pack and abs for days, and he was getting his big muscles all built out. He was rocking it, and not only that, but he was motivating people. He was texting people. He literally, when he passed away, I'm not kidding you, there was probably more than 10 people that told me that Talon was his best friend. Talon was his best friend. And it was because Talon really treated people like an individual. Every relationship was super important. And that I believe he learned in the Samson Challenge. I'm part of it. I shouldn't say all of it. I mean, I'm relationship driven, and he's learned that from me. But the skill set, the tools that he learned to be able to reach out to people, to text people, the letter writing, the journals, all those things that were intricately important to who Talon became that last year and a half, for me, really, really was derived from that relationship aspect.
Wow.
Yeah. And I couldn't even tell you how many people told me, just as many, if not more, Talon saved my life. Talon talked me off of a ledge. If not for Talon, I would not be here. And all of that, I do also believe, came from those key tools of reaching out to people, checking on your friends. 5 people a day is so impactful. Like you said, one person a day is impactful. Why can't we do 5? Why can't we do 5? Why can't we message 5 people that we haven't talked to in a while every day? 5 new people. 5 new people that you haven't talked to for a while, and just say, hey, I was just thinking about you. Or, hey, I remember this about you. Or, hey, do you remember that one time? Like, invoke some joy and some positivity into that person.
Absolutely.
Rocky.
Yeah.
What would you like people to know? Because I think what I want everybody to know about you, or how I associate with you. In fact, I'm wearing a shirt of yours. I have to show you. I wore it just for this occasion. Let's see if you can see it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Always,
yeah.
That's awesome. Wow.
And I was an extra large when I used to fit into this. Yay!
Great.
So how I associate you is with the power of words, right? Like Rocky is power of words. This is your MO. This is your thing. It's one thing that I love about who you are because I agree. Words matter. Words are everything. It's starting with the words that we tell ourselves, right? So I'm going to share really quick that rice picture. If you'll just talk about it really quick, and then I want you to just share really quick, just kind of your philosophy on the power of words and kind of how that resonates with you. But let me share that, because I really do love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to find it. Let's see.
So while you're finding that,
okay.
I'll talk so we don't have to waste any time here.
Sure.
When I was basically just before I became kind of homeless, if you will, I had been seeing gothic shirts and affliction, names on shirts, and I just thought, I'm already down. I'm already depressed. I've already lost millions of dollars. I've already lost, relationships, and I'm at the end of life. It felt like, and I wanted to see something positive. I felt like I wanted something positive. And I thought, why can't I put positive words on shirts? I'd never thought about that before, but I just started thinking positivity. And so that genesis of that thought happened, back when I'm living in this foreclosed home as a squatter. Obviously illegally living there, but it's the place I had to live at the time. Then I moved to Idaho and lived in a treehouse for a year. I mean, just a sobbing story. And but I kind of kept up this whole positive mental attitude thing, and went to bed, most of my night in tears in this treehouse, just thinking I was just grateful to have a pillow and grateful I had a little roof over my head. And so as my journey started kind of growing, and this evolution of the power words started to grow, I'm at the gym one day after I had just really got ripped as a bodybuilder. I'm not like a bodybuilder in the small trunks. It was just like that philosophy of building my body at the gym and weightlifting and stuff like this. Guy tells my story to another guy that is at the gym. And this other fella, he's like at bodybuilding.com. He says, dude, you need to send your story in like yesterday. And so I thought, oh, wow, really? My story? I mean, I'm just out of the treehouse. I don't have that high of confidence, man. My self-image isn't big at all. I mean, my story? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, all right, dude. I just took his advice. So I basically put this story together of everything I had, lost it, became fat, depressed, overweight, suicidal, moved to Idaho, lived homeless for a couple of years, live in a treehouse, decide to, lose some body fat, get ripped. And that's my story. That's really my story. And so it goes viral. The story goes viral. I get emails from people all over the world like, oh my gosh, this guy had it, lost it, lived in a treehouse, and now look at him now. But I had a really great before picture and a really great after picture, which makes for an amazing transformational story, which I had.
Right.
And to this day, it's still one of the most recognized transformational stories. And so I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that. So that's where I got the idea of words. So I get invited to this monstrous company at the time, bodybuilding.com. 10 million customers, 50 million people visit their site every month. And I get invited to the corporate office. I walk in with shirts that have positive messages on them. Nobody had ever done that before. And to my knowledge, I'm one of the only guys in the world that still does that. And, I'm a self-proclaimed, world expert on the power of words. I live it. Nobody else that I know anywhere on the planet Earth knows more about or lives more of the power of words than I do. I wrote a book on it. I wear the shirts. I built a couple companies on it. So I'm pretty detailed in the power of words. And so then we launched the Samson Life Challenge. And it was all about the power of words and how positivity in words can positively transform your life. And in 2016, we wrote the book, The Samson Effect, Transforming Lives with the Power of Words. And this picture you're seeing is in our book. I did some research on Dr. Emoto's research that he did on water. This is rice. Anybody can do this. I'm not the first guy to do this. You can look it up on YouTube. You can do it with plants. I did it with rice. Stupid, idiot, loser, failure. Those are negative words. This is the same rice in two different jars. That's all it is. Same rice, two different jars. One has positive words on the right side, grateful, blessings, courage. The other one's negative words. Within just a few days, 20 days, the rice, that has negative words started deteriorating and getting moldy, and the other rice, it looks still fine. And so, this is a great example. What about the human body? For 90%, 80, 70% water, what words are you wearing? I took it to a new level. Jack Canfield, the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, sold more books than anybody on planet Earth, sold 500 million books. That's a lot of books. When we were in his home, he said, "You've really taken the power of words to the next level." And I have, I say that I have, like, confessing that I believe that power of words, positive words, change and save lives. I know it's proven on this by your kids and what they're saying to other kids, what they're saying to themselves, what they're writing down. Those are all words, right? Here's our journal. It's about words. It's about the words that you write every day. What are you writing about yourself? What are you saying about yourself in the mirror when you're looking in the mirror? All of it is about the power of words. And so, Tanya, I can keep going. I mean, listen, I got all kinds of stories. I've been featured on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. We've been on an A&E reality TV show, ESPN. I don't know too many people that have been more featured on media than me. Not saying that I'm an anybody. I just have a story. I love the power of words. And the thing is that everybody has a story. You've got a story, and here you are empowering other people, to encouraging them by interviewing people like me. I just love it. I love it. I love this stuff.
I love you. I do. I love you.
Thank you.
Rocky, I'm so grateful for your time today. I really do. Is there, I have other questions, but you're right. You could probably go on forever, but is there something that you feel like you wish I would have asked you? Is there something you wish that people knew? Is there something that you want to tell people? Is there a call to action item that you want to share?
Action. I'd love people to reach out to me, can you get in touch with me? I remember I watched like a couple of different movies that really just changed my life. And after the movies, I went and I'm like, how can I get in touch with this person, right? That this movie, that story changed my life. I mean, am I ever going to get in touch with Sylvester Stallone? Probably not, right? It's not going to happen because he was Rocky. But I mean, I'm live. I'm easy to get in touch with, and I just know when I went through it or I was in a difficult situation, I wanted to reach out to somebody that like I could talk to, and I'm easy to get in touch with. I'm at rockydetwiler.com. I'm very simple to reach. You can just Google Rocky Detwiler, and I own pages of it, right? But I'd love to have people reach out to me. If they need assistance or help and they want to talk. Obviously, I'm a coach, Tanya, as you know. I coach authors, but thank you. This is a great place to reach me. Rocky.Detwiler or RockyD@Samson.life. That's my email. RockyD@Samson.life. That's my email. I'm easy to get reached. But I would just encourage anybody on the show that's listening, just do what Tanya suggested. Just reach out to people. It will change your life. And it will change other people's lives and possibly save their lives. So please take the action steps that we've asked you guys to do. And if they want to buy my book, Tanya, they can go on Amazon and go grab it. It's The Samson Effect, no problem. But thank you.
Let me just share a picture of that really fast. Let me find that one while I've got you on. And
that's changed so many lives around the country. We featured the book with schools, with government agencies, with universities, with corporate, large companies. And so, it's almost like a little bit of a workbook, but it's a power word. So, yeah, it's the Samson Effect, and it's a great book. But yeah, anything we can do, I'm like you, that I want to bring hope and empower people and uplift and encourage and inspire people. And I think it's because of what we've been through and the difficulties that we experience in life. And so, yeah, great. Thank you for
that. There's your book. It's so pretty. I love it. Talon would have loved the colors of that book. He loved colorful.
Yes.
Well, again, thank you again, Rocky, for being on. I want to encourage listeners and viewers that if you know somebody who has, I call it being baptized by fire, you have a God nudge of somebody that has a story that can be a hope broker to others. I believe we all have a story. I think we all have pain points. And I think when we share, it allows people to understand and feel first that they're not alone. But I think we also go through those pain points so that we can identify when we see those in other people and identify that they need help. They need us. And right now in today's, everything that's going on in the world, we have to be gentle. We have to initiate contact and connectivity. And again, I would just really encourage you guys to, what we've talked about today with Rocky is just building those relationships. If it's texting somebody you haven't talked to, or writing a handwritten letter, or just shooting somebody an email or whatever, encourage people as much as we can. We need more of that in the world, right, Rocky?
Absolutely. No question about it.
Thank you. Thank you again for being on, Rocky. You're a good friend. You're a great mentor, and I'm excited to continue to watch you grow on your journey.
Thank you. Likewise, Tanya. Thank you for this wonderful invitation.
Thank you, Rocky.
All right.
You have a good night.
All right. You too.